I love everything about this story. So let's bring on these two sisters who run the Ripped Bodice romance novel bookstore in Culver City, California. Oh, you know what happened? John put them on. I just locked the line. I think you're back. Leah Koch, are you there?
Good morning.
Good morning. And Bea Koch, are you there?
I'm here.
All right. Let me start with this before we get into really the specifics of the store and everything. Just talk about how it is that two sisters get along so well, and that when you were growing up, you already had decided that you wanted to work together. Why do you get along so well? Or I should say, how do you get along so well?
That's a good question. I mean, our parents definitely insisted that we spend a lot of time together growing up. We always went to each other's cello recitals and performances of anything. And we also have a brother who we're really close with, but he's not a business partner.
No. I don't know. I think it's just a little bit of luck, a lot probably of how we were raised. And you are correct that it is unusual. And many people that we meet say, I could never work with my sister, but it somehow works for us.
So which came first? The idea that you wanted to have some kind of business together, or the interest in romance novels and a romance novel-based bookstore?
Well, the interest in romance novels, then that we wanted to have a business, then this particular business.
Got it. So what do you like? So let's go in order. What do you like so much about romance novels?
Well, this is Bea, and I'm the older sister. I started reading romance first, and I had always loved historical fiction and stories about strong women, and I found historical romance novels, and I loved how strong the women were, and I loved that they got a happy ending. So I had been reading romance, for almost as long as I can remember. And then Leah wanted to pick it up too, but she didn't love the historical elements.
I like how the older sister is also now speaking for the younger sister.
We speak for each other all the time.
We do.
All right, so you were into romance novels, and then you decided we should have a business together.
Yes. That was when we were in college. I was in college. Leah and Bea was in graduate school, and it was sort of, the classic, what do we want to do with the rest of our lives? And at that point, Bea had been living in New York for a couple of years, and I was in Los Angeles, and we really came to the conclusion that we wanted to live in the same city. We didn't like being that far apart from each other, and we wanted to do something together. And the conversation of we want to open a business, what kind should we open, was very short.
It was one conversation.
And it was basically like, we want to open a store for women, and it's definitely going to sell books because we love to read. Well, the books we love to read are romance novels. What if we only sold romance novels? That was the whole conversation.
So you really, it was not a struggle to figure out what the plan should be.
No, I think once we had the idea, we knew it was a really good one because I was in graduate school studying romance, and I was writing a graduate thesis on historical romance and the clothing in those books. Mm-hmm. And in doing my research, I had realized that this is a genre that is really underserved by the bookstore community. Mm-hmm. It's very difficult as a romance reader to buy your books in a bookstore. A lot of people have turned to buying their books online or reading electronic books.
Is that because bookstores don't stock enough of them or the right kind of them?
Both of those things. There's a huge amount of romance that's published. There's traditionally published romance. There's independently published romance. There's self-published romance. There's just a lot coming out. So every reader has different tastes, and trying to stay on top of all that for a bookstore that doesn't specialize in romance is really difficult.
But even, beyond that, we should figure out a number. I would wager to say that most independent bookstores don't carry romance.
Or they carry a handful of
tiny amount, yeah. And even non-independent bookstores, even, Barnes & Noble has generally a very small section.
Yeah, what? A lot of traditionally published stuff.
What do you know that they don't know?
We're more plugged into the community. We spend our entire day on Twitter and checking in with romance readers, authors, bloggers, people in the community, and seeing what they're reading right now, who the hot authors are. It's a full-time job to do that.
But your question is a good one, and and when I say they, I just mean people who don't carry romance. I mean, obviously, there are a lot of different reasons, but at some point, people are caring more about, the
societal pressures.
Yes.
Are you trying to be, is this a problem where you're trying to be nice, but you kind of have a thing in your head that you think might not be nice to say?
Yeah.
I mean, look.
Okay, well, just say it. Just say it, because it's just, it's your opinion and nobody's going to get mad. What do you know that they don't know? What are they missing? Why are they dummies?
Romance is read by women, and it has sex in it. And that is something that makes people uncomfortable. And so they don't want to... They believe it's a lower grade.
Right. And they care more about that than they care about making money.
Yeah, because romance is a best-selling genre.
I don't have recent figures, but I know in 2013 it was over $1 billion of romance novels.
It's a huge industry, but it's an industry powered by women, and we have a real problem of misogyny in publishing, especially amongst the gatekeepers, the literary critics. They don't view romance as worthy of their time.
So this is a real niche that you've found in an underserved market. And I understand demographically, if we can just be kind of crass business people for a second, demographically, romance readers are extremely desirable as customers.
Absolutely.
Right? They're age appropriate for what you want in a good customer. They have average incomes above average. And I mean, these are people whose business that you want. So you kind of found the place you wanted to occupy, and I'm guessing you didn't have a ton of money just sitting in a checking account with which to find a place to open a store, open up the store, get all the legal parts done, and buy a bunch of stock. How did you get the money to open up this store?
You are correct that we did not have a lot of money sitting around. And the way we got the money is through Kickstarter. And we are a crowd-funded bookstore, and we raised $91,000 in startup money on Kickstarter. And for the rest of my life, I will certainly be a huge advocate of Kickstarter and the crowdfunding model. I think for young entrepreneurs, it's such an amazing tool to be able to bypass a sort of a traditional funding model that is based on, to steal Bea's word, gatekeepers who have to decide whether they think your business model is, legit enough. If you can bypass them and go straight to the people who will eventually be your customers and prove to them that your business model is sound, it's such an amazing way to start your business and to get non-traditional funding.
I think we credit it with a lot of our early success because we were able to reach out to our consumer base. We said, romance readers, we are building a bookstore for you. And this is something that the community has really wanted for a long time. So they were really invested from the beginning in funding us. And that meant we had a fan base from the beginning. We had a great story that this was a crowd-funded business, and it's really crowdfunded by women. I mean, this is a female-oriented business, and it was funded by women as well.
All right, we're gonna take a little break here, and then when we come back, start thinking about this, because I'm going to talk to you about how many different categories that you have. At least I'm looking on your website.
We'll start counting.
Yeah, and I want you, but start thinking about this. What's the thing a novel has to have to be considered a romance novel. And we'll talk to you when we come back. Leah and Bea Koch, owners of the Ripped Bodice bookstore in Culver City. It's our Success from Scratch segment. KFI AM 640.